a beauty queen. Over 2 billion Instagram users, the person to your right and your left, you and me all have in common. We're all communicating messages through our words, our actions, our posts, and most often, through the way that we look. It's 2026, and a huge reality is this. Communication does not begin when we speak. It begins when we are seen. Appearance has quietly moved into a communication system, one that assigns meaning before language ever has the chance to. And I've come to realize this system quite well through realizing something we all wear, whether we know it or not: crowns. Now, I'm sure you're wondering what your crown is, right? See, crowns aren't something we consciously choose. We inherit them. We perform them. We're rewarded or punished based on how well we wear them. And over time, we begin to confuse the crown for the person underneath it. Let me introduce myself. My name is Kyla L. Wright. I'm a Ph.D. student in information and media. I'm a journalist, and I'm a former beauty queen, so I know quite a bit about crowns. As Miss North America 2024, the crown made up a very visible and large part of who I was. It dictated the way that I was introduced, treated, and read before I ever had the chance to speak. People would make assumptions about who I was, sometimes positive, other times limiting, before I ever opened my mouth. And through my reign and my studies, I realized that each of you has a crown that you wear too. Crowns show up in different facets of our lives, but they're all invisible. See, crowns may show up as your digital visibility or your influence, your role, or you know how we say, go green. That's a crown too. Everything we do, whether we know it or not, is a type of crown. And of course, from person to person, like a fingerprint, each crown is different, but they all carry jewels. Before we talk about the jewels, though, remember, crowns are signals, not summaries. They shape perception, not truth. Crowns are not conclusions, but they hold truth. The truth are the jewels. The jewels are your lived experiences, those moments of identity, resilience, grief, joy, survival. They're the late nights that no one witnessed or the moments that people didn't document. But they're those inherent moments that make you, you. But when you only judge the crown, you miss the jewels entirely. When you're an international pageant queen, there's an expectation to always be on. Smiling, waving, kissing babies, the whole nine. But what do you do on the day or days when you don't feel like it? Not because you don't love your role or the people that you get to interact with, but because your body simply won't allow you to, because you have an invisible illness. They say heavy is the head that wears the crown, and I have quite a few jewels in mine, one of which is an autoimmune disease where my body attacks itself unprovoked, not allowing me to do my daily activities that I might wish to do sometimes. In this Autoimmune Awareness Month, I like to raise some awareness. Okay, so think about when you go to bed, let's say your phone's on 40%. You plug it in for the night, go to bed, and when you wake up, you unplug it, and you get that horrid red line, low battery. 15%. But you know you plugged it in, and then you realize the charger wasn't plugged into the wall. So you're now challenged to go the rest of your day with your phone on 15%. No external batteries, no car chargers, no low power mode, just your phone and 15%. You have to continue business as usual. Going to class, work, Zoom calls, 14%, 13, 12. Phone calls, text messages, 11%, 10. Familial obligations, social activities, 9, 8. Okay, so what do you do and how do you make sure that your phone doesn't make it to 0%? There's nothing that you can do, honestly, but there is a caveat. If you want to, you can borrow some battery percentage from the next day, but you can't replace it, so be careful. Okay, this is an analogy about phone batteries, right? but this is what my body and over 50 million people who live in America with autoimmune illnesses look like sometimes on a daily. But you wouldn't know that by just looking at us. And I wouldn't know that by just looking at your phone. So on one of those 15% days, I hated that I had to, but I had to cancel an obligation I previously made as Miss North America. I was called unprofessional, I was insulted, I was chastised, and I'm pretty sure many other unkind things were said about me behind my back by someone I at first at least expected to ask, "Are you okay? What's wrong? This is a little out of character." But I had to realize that they weren't responding to me. They were responding to the crown that I wore, both literally and figuratively. In this moment of disconnect, it happens to all of us. So it's not necessarily the fault of the person. It's the fault of society. Because society makes us, or kind of has us put each other into weird predicaments where we pass judgment before knowing each other's stories or seeing each other's jewels. Okay, I hope I don't age myself with this. Who remembers the movie Mean Girls? Yeah, okay, great. So that's one of my favorite movies. And one of my favorite scenes that I've had to put into perspective is when Katie, the main character, wins Spring Fling Queen, the ultimate social crown. And instead of putting it on top of her head and smiling and waving, she breaks it into little pieces and throws it out into the audience. You see, this moment was not just her breaking the crown. It was her breaking a system that often confuses visibility with value. And in this moment, Katie rediscovers herself. It's a powerful moment where she realizes that it's not about the performed version or the socially approved version, or especially the plastic version. But it was about realizing that we all thought the crown mattered when we only believed that it only belonged to one person. But when she broke it and she redistributed it, it still mattered. It was still worthy. It was worthy when she gave it to you, and you, and you, and you, and me too. And it's moments like this when Sonder enters. Imagine a world where we actually see each other's crowns and jewels. Because crowns aren't just shine, they're substance too. Sonder challenges us. It asks more of us. It demands for us to recognize the unseen depth that people carry with them every day, even though you may never see it. It asks you to understand that people may be living a life just as full and vivid as your own. And it asks you to remain aware of such things. But you have to intentionally do so. You have to make a choice to remember that you can't confuse polish with professionalism, or silence with incompetence, or only reward the loudest, the lightest, or the most palatable of crowns. You see, in society, we'll only ever see each other's crowns, and that's just reality. But Sonder begins when we realize that everyone's crown is held together by stories we'll never fully know, and we have to be okay with that. When we bring up instances like this, ones of bias or perception, the question comes about, okay, what do I do about it? Imagine a world where crowns weren't judged only by their shine, but by their substance. That perception didn't have to be proved. Because if perception is learned, it can be unlearned. We have to remember to build environments where natural hair isn't seen as unpolished, or accents aren't seen as unintelligent, or quietness in boardrooms isn't seen as weakness. Because when we pass judgment like this early, preliminarily, we make people shrink. But we have to remember that if people don't shrink, they can expand. And in these moments where we allow people to wear their full crowns and feel fully human without having to edit them or add filters on them, we welcome people to wear their full crowns, to be human, and to exist in entire kingdoms of brilliance. Because the crown is what we see, but the jewels are who people are. Each of you has a crown. Some are polished, some are dented, most are heavy, all are invisible, and they all carry jewels. I want you to remember this. Your jewels don't matter because people see them. Your jewels matter because you wear them. We inherit them. So repeat after me. Stop assuming. Ask questions. Embrace Sonder. As an international beauty queen, I know quite a bit about crowns. As Miss North America 2024, the crowns made up a very large part of who I was. But I want to reiterate that each of you has a crown that you wear too. No matter what they look like, feel like, or may perform like, they all matter in this thing that we call life. So, the next time you find yourself judging someone a little quickly or reading them, a classmate, a professor, a friend, a beauty queen, I challenge you to pause and ask yourself what you might be missing, because behind every crown is a life far more complex than the surface will ever suggest. Thank you.